spending your time here for our next PhD students present a research proposal. Okay, so for today's session, we have Zuli Liu, who will present her research proposal entitled Entrepreneurship Education Comparative Study of Higher Education Transformation in Zhejiang, China. So with us today, we have Dr. Mahmoud Zakir. Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud Zakir, for your willingness to help assessing our student from Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Indonesia. Okay, so without further ado, Zuliu, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dayang, and selamat datang. Good morning, respected members of the committee, my respected Dr. Rivani and Dr. Mazaka. Thank you, Hanif. And I'm a PhD student from Dr. Rivani. My name is Li Yue, and it's my honor to be here to make my presentation to all of you. And I hope that I have the chance to make a fruitful discussion with you all. Okay, now today I'm going to introduce my research. My research is entrepreneurship comparative study of higher education transformations in Zhejiang, China. Okay, now let's see that this is my content. Today I'm going to make a presentation from 1 to 6, and I'm going to give you an example in part 6 to show that how I will use my research methodology. Okay, now let's move on the research background. Firstly, I want to say that here are 3 very important key policies in China. With the trend, in line with the trend of global, in line with the global trends, China has already experienced a very rapid expansion in higher education since 1998, and especially have a rapid increase in the early of 2000s. And then, so the mass entrepreneurship and innovation policies was carried out in 2014, and the parallel promotion of the university-wide EE was also carried out around 2014. Let's move on. So at the other hand, the higher education transformation are taking in China, including the decline of independent colleges and the promotion of the vocational education. So let me introduce to you. First, the decline of the independent colleges. Actually, the independent colleges are the product of the expansion of the higher education. But now the decrease policy is in progress. So here is the document, maybe from the May, not maybe, actually from the May of 2020. It shows determination from the Education Ministry of China to show its determination for the decline of independent colleges. On the other hand, the promotion of vocational education is in progress. As we all know that in the past, the degree education only be taken in the common universities or colleges. But now with the promotion of the vocational education, more and more vocational institutions they are doing the transformation, and the main transformation is that they are going to transform to be the professional bachelor's degree. So that means the vocational educations are transforming into the bachelor's degree. So let me take Zhejiang province for example. In Zhejiang, there are 109 higher education universities and institutions, including 15 independent colleges and 2 vocational universities. Until June of 2023. And just the day before yesterday, I saw a news that 2 more vocational universities are in the progress of transforming into the degree universities. So that means, I guess, more and more vocational universities may appear very soon in the next year or in the future. Okay, thank you, please. Okay, now let's move on the literature review. After examining the studies in the recent years, I found that there are three main streams of the study. The first part is that many scholars has established that different kinds of higher education transformations are taking in China. Secondly, is that the entrepreneurial education is facing colleges. And the last part, but I think it's very important, that I found that many scholars, they particular focus on the entrepreneurial intentions. So at the same time, three shortcomings are very clear. Here, the first one is there are relatively very few studies in higher education transformations on independent universities or vocational institutions. But while the transformations are taking in China, and secondly is that unlucky that I found that very few Chinese scholars made continuous publication on EE in English in the recent years. I have to say that very few continuous publishments. Okay, the last one is that more recent attention has focused on the psychological cognition, especially entrepreneurial intentions. Okay, let's move on. So, combined with the background and the literature review, here is my research gap. I found that there was no explanatory model of entrepreneurship education based on higher education transformations. Although the EE, the entrepreneurship education, maybe I will use EE instead of entrepreneurship education instead later because it's too long. Okay, so this is my research gap. This is my whole problem statement. In order to save the time, maybe I should just introduce the very important point to you. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so here this is part for my research questions and the research objectives. You can see that here is my research questions. Actually, I designed my research questions based on my research methodology. Later, I will give you an example and explain how and why. Okay, let's see the questions first. Okay, the first question is that what is the current state of EE in Zhejiang, in universities in Zhejiang, actually in the selected universities? Okay, the second is what institutional events lead to the current state of EE? The one is what are the generative mechanisms underlying these transformations? So here is my objectives. The first one is to examine the key events on EE among the selected universities. The second one is to reveal the generative mechanisms on EE among the selected universities. The last one is to explain commonalities and differences on EE among the selected universities. So, thank you. Now I'm going to introduce my theoretical and conceptual frameworks. So first is the theoretical framework. After examining the studies, the constructs, and some relative studies of my research, I decided to use the institutional theory. Institutional theory is concerned with how various groups and organizations better secure their positions and legitimacy by conforming to the rules and the norms of the institutional environment. Maybe some of you are familiar about this. Okay, let's move on. So this study offers a hypothetical model to provide a conceptual framework. Okay, as you can see that this conceptual framework tends to explain the whole important events from the drill level. As the feature showed that there are 3 levels of the working of mechanism progress, namely the real, the actual, and the empirical. So this study tries to find the generative mechanisms from the real level, and based on the conceptual framework from Alice Daniel 2015, I'm going to try to analyze the mechanisms from the individual force, the regulatory force, organizational force, and the social force. So, and after finding out the mechanisms, I'm going to try how it works So it could show you the whole progress from the real level. Okay, let's move on. Thank you. Now I'm going to introduce my research methodology. And here I will use two methodologies. The first is case study method. In my study, I'm going to select 3 universities to make the case studies. The first one is the Zhejiang University. I think every one of the Chinese students know that it's the best public universities in Zhejiang and even one of the best public universities in China. And then the others are Tongji Zhejiang College and Jiaxing Nanhu University, which are both located in Jiaxing, Zhejiang. Tongji Zhejiang College is still an independent college and it's still in the progress of transformation, and the transformation direction is also not so clear. But while the Jiaxing Nanhu University was transformed from an independent university to a public university in 2021, it's already finished the transformation. So I think these two both are independent universities before, but one is already finished the transformation, but another one is still in the progress. Okay, the research methodology part 2 is about the retrospective research strategy. In the retrospective research strategy, there are 3 levels. They are empirical, the actual, and the real. In the empirical level, in my study, it could be the EE courses, the EE competitions. The actual level in my study could be the EE policies, double first class universities plan, and the real could be the Ministry of Education, People's Government of Zhejiang Province, and etc. Okay, now I'm going to make an example for you to show how I will use my methodology. Let me make a brief introduction about the retrospective. In retrospective research strategy, there are 4 steps. The first one is description of the event. The second is the identification of the structures or components. The third is the theoretical description, and the last one is the retroduction. Okay, now I will give you an example. Thank you, Hanli. Okay, let me take the Zhejiang University for example, because I think most of you are familiar about this. Okay, in EE in Zhejiang University, the first methodology is case study. I will find out different key events in the different phrases. And then I'm going to the step 2 to make the retrospective analysis from the empirical, the actual, the real. Actually, it should be from the real, actual, and empirical. Let's go on. Okay, let's suppose that chapter 4 is EE in Zhejiang University. The first part should be an introduction, and the second part, it should be a brief history of Zhejiang University. Of course, it will be including what is the current state of EE in Zhejiang University. And then the next part should be key events of EE in Zhejiang University. Okay, now I'm going to take the first key event in the first phrase to make an example. Now I'm going to analyze the first key event according to the retrospective research strategy. The first step, I should make a description of the event, which I was found from the case studies. Okay, next one, the step 2 should be the identification of structures and contexts. And the third step should be the theoretical array description. In this step, I'm going to find the generative mechanisms and explain them. The last step is retroduction. In this step, I'm going to explain how the mechanisms, mechanisms which I've already analyzed from the step 3, how the mechanisms work. So this is just an example, and the other key events in different phrases in different universities should be analyzed by the same way by the retrospective. Okay, and in the last part of chapter 4, I'm going to make a conclusion of the generative mechanisms of key events of EE in Zhejiang. Okay, so that's my presentation. Thank you for your watching, and welcome for some pieces of advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
the
you.
Liu, for the presentation. Okay, so I will open the session for Dr. Muhammad Zakir for any comments, suggestions, or questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the time, Dr. Dayang. My voice is clear.
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, I would like to give the congratulations to Juliu, who already in this step, the proposal presentation. So I think your topic is quite fascinating. I think the issue on the organizational transformation, especially in uh, transformation of higher education. First of all, secondly, I would like to I want to ask you to make a confirmation. Uh, and so in this topic, you would you like to focus on the entrepreneurship education that adopt by higher education institution in Zhejiang province. That's right?
In Zhejiang province, yeah.
Yeah, the entrepreneur.
Right?
No, I mean the entrepreneurship education. Uh, you are going to focus on the entrepreneurship education, right?
Yeah.
Or entrepreneurial university.
Ah, I focus on the entrepreneurship education, not the entrepreneurship universities, because there haven't any universities in China just to focus on the entrepreneurship. In China, the universities, they have the secondary school or some department which are focused on the entrepreneurship, but we don't have the entrepreneurial universities.
Okay. Because there is in the higher education studies, there is also the traditional term entrepreneurial university. But in this context, you are going to focus on entrepreneurship education that adopt or imposed by the higher education institution to enhance, especially on vocational issue, right? It's on your background.
Mm, yeah, something like that, but something
Okay.
not. Please permit, let me make an explanation. Of course, I want to make some uh, even a little bit progress in the entrepreneurship education in China, but my point is that I found that the entrepreneurship in education now never consider about the background of the transformation of the university. Why I say that? For example, the Zhejiang University, the entrepreneur Zhejiang education in Zhejiang University, I think it's very good. Maybe don't need to make any progress or only some very little progress is enough. But so that's the answer to your question. Do I want to make the progress in the entrepreneurship education in some universities? So my answer is not all. The Zhejiang universities is good, but it should be make some progress in any other universities, especially the universities which are experienced is in the progress of transformation.
Okay. That's clear ya. That entrepreneurship education, not focus on entrepreneurial university. Okay, good point. Okay. Could you move to the next slide? Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay. Good. Because actually, yeah, entrepreneurship education is you mentioned, that is respond, because there is the structural unemployment. That's right? How to this one, and then promote vocational education, structural employment, and then there is the policy that support the higher education to propose entrepreneurship education. Okay, good. Okay, the research background, please, maybe research background, the decline of independent college. Maybe Julio, maybe you can, please Julio, I think it would be better if you are not take the reference from Wikipedia. Yeah, maybe you can from the journal. I think there many literature regarding the decline independent college in China, not from the
Oh,
Wikipedia.
excuse me,
Yeah.
Dr.
Good.
Madaka.
Yes.
I want to make an explanation. Unfortunately,
Okay.
why I found the definition from Wikipedia. There have some
Yeah.
reasons. Unfortunately, I'm going to try. I tried my first choice to find some
Okay.
explanation in the Chinese Google Scholar. In China, we call it Baidu. It's something like Google. But unfortunately, I couldn't find the whole explanation, the whole independence list, the whole vocational education list in Zhejiang in Baidu. But I could find the whole explanation in Wikipedia. It's out of my surprise. I can't believe. So I checked. I checked the list of the universities in by Wikipedia one by one. So what's the result? It's a correct list of Zhejiang, all kinds of different kinds of university. So that's the reason why I choose Wikipedia.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Out of my surprise, right? Out of all your surprise.
Yeah. Okay. The decline of independent college, yeah. Maybe regarding the decline of independent college, there is the literature that relate with this topic. That maybe you didn't mention in literature review. Maybe I want to share to you the article. The title of the article is "The Development of Independent College and Their Discrimination from the Parent Public University in China." I think this might be related with your topic also.
Okay, thank you
Okay,
for sharing.
okay, good. Okay, the next. Okay, literature review. Okay, that's good. Higher education from transformation. Okay, entrepreneurial university. Okay. Okay, move next page. Okay, problem statement. You mentioned there is no explanatory model of entrepreneurship education based on the higher education transformation, and this is the research gap. Could you explain more detail on your explanatory model that you will propose to interpret, or maybe to analyze this issue in your study?
Okay, thank you for your question. Thank you, Hanei. Could you put the slides to the explanation of the case study? Yeah, the next one. Yeah, here, please. Okay, thank you, Dr. Madaka. Please see this slide. I suppose I make some rounds of discussion with my supervisor, Dr. Rivani. So in before the presentation, I list another 3 universities, but I changed my idea about 2 weeks ago. So I will explain why. So your question is what I supposed to do in my study, right? What I supposed to do. My point should be focused on the transformation of higher education. So as I mentioned in the background, here are two main transformations in higher education in China, especially in Zhejiang. One is kind of independent universities, another kind is vocational universities. So, but after my review of the list of the universities in Zhejiang, I found that there are only two vocational universities in Zhejiang. So in my idea, the sample is too little. And even I mentioned that just 2 days before, I found a news that two more vocational universities is in the progress. Even they are successful, there are only 4 in Zhejiang. But in Zhejiang, there are 109 all kinds of universities. So the vocational universities, in my opinion, the sample is too little. So then I focus on the independent universities, and very fortunately that I can find a very good sample, because these two, Tongji Zhejiang University and Jiaxing Nanhu University, all of them are independent universities before, and all of them are located in Jiaxing. So that means maybe this why I want to find why one could be an independent university and not so clear the transformation direction, and another one is already finished the transformation. So I think I can make a good comparison with these two kind of independent university. Actually, another one is not independent university anymore. So I think I could find the very good information about the entrepreneurship on the independent universities, and especially one of them already finished the transformation. So I can compare when Jiaxing Nanhu University is the so I mentioned that I will choose some phases. Maybe to Jiaxing Nanhu University, phase 1 is before the transformation, and phase 2 is after the transformation. I can make a comparison that what's the difference of EE in different kinds of universities, especially in the independent and the public.
Okay, Julius, how do you collect data from three higher education institutions?
Okay, thank you for your
It's
question.
possible. It's possible for you to collect data from them.
After my consideration, I decided to choose these 3. Let me tell you that why I want to choose them. Firstly, is that Zhejiang. Is Zhejiang University. Fortunately, I graduated from Zhejiang University, so I have many students and teachers there. So and I also have some study with the entrepreneurship education teachers in Zhejiang University. So I think it's a good choice for me, and I have to choose Zhejiang University. I can make a good comparison. That's why I choose the Zhejiang University. And the second one is Tongji Zhejiang College, and actually it's the working place for me, and I'm one of the entrepreneurship education teacher in Tongji Zhejiang College. So the last one is Jiaxing Nanhu University. As I mentioned that Jiaxing Nanhu University also located in Jiaxing, so I have a very close relationship with them, not only in the working, but also some of my students after their graduation, they've already been there. So I've already contact with them, and I'm going to collect the data in Jiaxing Nanhu University after my back to Jiaxing just the next month. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe. Okay. Thank you, Julius. Maybe I stop in this moment. Maybe the another panelist. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mazaka.
My pleasure.
There's only one panelist today. It is you.
I think I was the only one
Yeah, today, yeah.
Take brief first.
Yeah. Oh, take a break. Since you are the expert in higher education and you also did reproductive research strategy, so one of you can represent two panelists.
Oh my goodness. So I wonder like Julio because I think the higher education system in China could be different in Indonesia or maybe in Malaysia because based on your literature review and I already searching also in some literature review that independent college is one kind of the actually from public but also the private funder. I don't exactly. You can expand more than that. What the independent college? What is different with public university and because there is also the university under the central government, but also the university under government of province. Could you explain? Okay, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Madaka. Uh, I got your idea that you thought that there are so many different kinds of universities in Zhejiang, in China. So why I said this, there are very little continuous publishment, right? In China, we have a website called Zhiwang. It's something like the Google Scholar in global, and actually, I can find so many Chinese publications in Zhiwang. But when I go back, I want to collect some studies from the Google Scholar. Unfortunately, I only could search. I only got the group of Dr. Huang Yangjie in Zhejiang. They've already have the continuous publishment in English. I focus on in English. Sorry, Doctor. Sorry, honey. Could you show my literature review? Dr. Mazaka, please focus here. Very few Chinese scholars made continuous publishments in English. Not in Chinese, yes, there are so many, but in English, I can't find so much in Google Scholar, especially in the recent 3 years. As my research, I found that only the group of Huang Yangjie, they have the continuous publishment in English in the recent 3 years, not other groups. And fortunately, I have a chance to have a discussion with Dr. Huang. Dr. Huang is a professor who focuses on the entrepreneurship in Zhejiang. And because as we all know that in the background, I have make a introduction that the policy of EE is just introduced in Zhejiang in 2014. So that means the development of EE in China is only been 9 years, right? 9 years. So in the 9 years, different kinds of people, they try to make the research of EE, but very few could research them in the global aspects. Maybe they can, because it's a very hot topic. And in China, in different kinds of government, we have some programs supporting by the government. So many of the teachers, they want to get this project. So they will choose the very hot topic. That's why you can find so many papers on EE in Chinese Zhiwang, but not in the Google Scholar. So if you have the chance, Dr. Murdaka, you can try to search on Google Scholar to search the name of Huang Yangjie. Maybe later I can send the name to you by WhatsApp. Except their group, actually, unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone will have the continuous publishment in English. Thank you.
Okay. No, yeah. Thank you for your explanation. But my question is, what the kind of the type of the higher education institution in China? There is the it called as the independent college that high education that uh, some in some literature review that the independent college that actually originally from public university, but it funded privately. It is it like you mentioned independent college. Actually, there is independent college relate that relation with the public university. It means that under public university, but also that what they call there is no relation with public university. I mean,
Can you explain the types of
the
university?
types of university. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
understand.
Okay. So, in types of the university, the first one is the public university. It means that it's totally supported by the public. Another one is the private university. So I think every country have the private and the public countries. But the last one is maybe it's very special in China. The name is namely independent university. Please let me introduce what is independent university to you. In maybe 25 years ago, in order to prove the level of education. So Chinese make an expansion policy. So what's the action of the expansion policy? There are only such kind of private and public universities. So our clever government, they got an idea to have the independent university. What's the meaning of independent university? Independent university was run by the government, by the let me take Tongji Zhejiang College for example. That's my working place. The government, they gave the university the place for a very cheap price. And second is the Tongji University. Tongji University, they gave the university, they support the new independent university with the teachers, with the teaching resources. And the last one is some business group. The business group, they pay the money, so it solved the problem. The government, they have the place, but they don't have the money. And the second one, the business group, they have the money, but they don't have the place and the teachers. And the last one is the Tongji University. They don't have money and don't have place, but they have the teaching resource. So they cooperate together and make the independent university. But 25 years has already been passed away. The society problems has carrying out. There are so many graduates in China. So now the government, they've already made the determination to decline the independent university. So that means maybe in the future, in China, they will have the public university, the private university, but no independent university. And another one is the promotion of vocational university. So that means maybe in the future, Chinese will have more and more vocational universities. Yeah.
So let me clear. So the independent university or independent college is previously not focus on the vocational, is right? Not focus on the vocational issue, but maybe PU side. Is it true or not? I mean, from your explanation, because then the independent college is government is stopped to develop, and then change to develop the what called the entrepreneurship education that offer in a university. Or so we focus on the pure side. I mean, not on vocational education. Previously the independent college or independent university.
In the independent university before, even now, their teaching system is same. I cannot tell same, but similar to the public or private school. The teaching system is totally the same, but the difference is only focused on the organization. So to the teachers or to the students, I think their teaching system have no difference with the public universities.
Okay. So the independent college is very strong because there is the what called demand of the what we call the massification of the higher education, because people in China pursue to continue their study in higher education. So that way the government create what we call the independence degree or independent calling. But later on, there is the change of the policy, because many graduate, but there is what we call the unemployment, and then to respond this issue, so the government change the policy and create the another policy to respond the unemployment with what we call the entrepreneurship education. So that's the issue, right?
Uh, Not actually.
Yeah, yeah. I
uh,
mean,
yeah.
is it my understanding on your logical framework from it? That's right.
Part of your understanding is correctly. I know you're
Um,
worried about that. If the independent university disappear, could it be more and more graduates they couldn't have
yeah,
work
yeah,
or
yeah.
something, right? So I want to make an explanation that Chinese has already is in the progress of the transformation, not only in the
Oh,
higher education but also in the whole education system.
oh,
Let me give you an example. This is just a transformation in higher education, but actually even it also has the similar education in the middle school and the high school. Let me take an example. The education the government of education. For example, in Jiaxing, now only 50% of the middle school graduates they have the chance to go to the high school. So what does that mean? That means the Chinese government they've already do something from the bottom system of the education, not only in the higher education. They want to control the number of the people who can have the chance to get the higher education. What's the purpose for that? The purpose is that they can we can consider about Germany, right? Now in China, every family member, every parent, they hope that their children could have the chance to get into the university. But after their graduation, some students they have no ability to do the work, or they think, well, I'm the graduate of the famous university. How I can do such kind of work? So, so that part of the reason why they don't have the job not means the society doesn't have enough job for them. So the Chinese government they've already control the number and I can say select the people who have the ability to study from the bottom level. They've already began the action from the middle school students.
okay, okay, okay. Thank you for your explanation. Make it clear.
Thank you.
Okay, Prof. Rubani, maybe any take rest, and then I want to ask another question to confirmation. Thank you.
Alright,
Thank you, Dr. Mutaka.
My, you're
maybe,
welcome.
maybe the rest of the Daya, maybe the rest of the friends have some
Yeah, yeah.
questions also.
Yeah, is there any questions? Yeah, we have a session for students who join us this morning. Is there any questions?
From online as well. I don't know.
Do you have any questions?
You all lecturers, right? No, many? No? Oh, yeah, lecturers. Okay. Anyone has to teach entrepreneurial education? No, okay. But you have to. Okay. Yeah.
Dr. Muzakir, you have any other questions?
Okay, yeah, okay. It was already take a breath, so I need to my discussion. Okay, in your in theoretical framework that you are mentioned, you are using the institutional theory, but you are not describing the theory, because they are actually refer to the institutional theory. Maybe well, there's the kind of the institutional theory, old institutional and new institutional theory, and The first is of institutional theory. They are in institution. They are three pillars. Three pillars. Three pillars of institution. That you are mentioned that this part of the how the university institutionalize the entrepreneurship education in their organization. Uh, and three pillars. The first is regulative pillars. Second one is normative pillars, and the last one is cultural cognitive pillars. I don't exactly. How do you maybe? I believe that you already read these three pillars of institution, because this is very useful for you to understanding how the university or maybe higher education institution institutionalize entrepreneurship education in their organization, or in how they run the education practice, entrepreneurship practice in their organization. Could you maybe, I don't exactly, have you do you use do you use this the conceptual term in your study also in detail from this institutional theory, three pillars of institution? Do you?
Yeah. Thank you,
Do
Dr.
you?
Madafio. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
I use the institutional theory according to that my research object. My research object is the universities, the different kinds of universities. Not the universities is an organization, and not the students or teachers in the universities. And thank you for your advice. I think I should have a deep thinking about the institutional theory after the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. So, what the level of analysis unit that would you like to pursue? You mentioned that university is not organization, right?
you sorry?
You mentioned that university is not organization.
Universities is, in my opinion, is one kind of organizations, and
Oh,
yeah, especially to the independent universities.
oh. So, but your standpoint, university as organization, right?
Yeah.
Okay, clear. So I meant that you are compare three organization as the organization. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, could you explain how institutional theory ini explain how the organization institutionalize, yeah, institutionalize the what they call the, because you study this education, it's entrepreneurship education. So it means that the term entrepreneurship education will be institutionalized or already institutionalized by the university as the organization. So,
Shall I answer your question in my next
okay,
presentation?
okay,
Thank you.
okay, okay. Thank you.
好几层。我知道有这个秘密。为什么是这个地方？为什么这所学校？为什么是这些理论？为什么是这些人？
Sorry, my question is clear or
Okay.
Yeah, I got your idea.
So yeah, I think the question is a simple one. How do the universities institutionalize entrepreneurial education? Right. That's the question.
yeah. The simple question.
I
Thank you.
designed the answer. Yeah, I designed my answer maybe I can give your answer in my conceptual framework, because here that I got some I've already analyzed some concepts here: individual, regulatory, organizational, and social. I think there are some relationships with the institutional theory.
Okay.
啊，那倒是。所以，因为我也是做样本研究，我是感觉这个东西很重要性的啊，当然要给出原因，怎么限定、边界。我也是，我现在样本我确定不了。
Okay, thank you, Prof.
我也写通知。
Dr. Dayang, the chairperson.
Thank you, Dr.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what maybe later on we can have another conversation like Rivani.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so is there any questions from students with Dr. Rivani inside the room?
Yeah.
Is there any questions?
Any question?
Hi, dear friends.
Seems like there's no question.
Hi.
They offered to ask you a question.
Yeah. Maybe.
啊，你们。
Okay, so it seems like there's no other questions. Thank you again, Dr. Muhammad Zakir, for joining today and being helping us to assist our students. We hope to see you soon if you can come to CenPRIS later on.
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay, so that will be the end of our session today. Okay, thank you again. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Bye.
Waalaikumsalam.